Top of the morning to you, lovely ones. Let's drop in and prepare to read lesson 160. So we open our minds and we open our hearts, as we know, every day. Let's just drop in first into our bodies, becoming truly present, truly here, ready to listen and ready to absorb and to embody this teaching. We begin this day in gratitude. We open our hearts and we surrender to love. We ask that love lead the way through the minutes and the hours of this new day. We welcome joy, fun, and abundant prosperity. We recognize that all encounters are wholesome and that all experiences can be met with a peaceful heart that is anchored in the truth, that we are one, that we are love, and that we are free. And we release these words, and so we let it be. Okay, lesson 160. I am at home. Fear is a stranger here. Fear is a stranger to the ways of love. Identify with fear, and you will be a stranger to yourself. So once more, pausing to recognize that our true selves is one, our one is one with love. So if you're identifying with fear, thus you are unknown to you. You do not know yourself. What is yourself, capital S, remains an alien to the part of you which thinks that the fearful part is real. And the fearful part is different from yourself. Who could be sane in such a circumstance? Who except a mad person could believe that they are what they are not and judge against themselves? So when we talk about fear, I suppose we don't always identify fear as fear, but if we're feeling like stressed, if we feel anxious, if we live our lives in a way that like we procrastinate, we put off doing things, we are nervous about meeting people, we worry a lot about things, then we're living in fear. And fear is our companion and love is the stranger. And this lesson is all about seeing it the other way around, that when we really identify with who we are, then love becomes our constant companion and fear becomes the stranger. There is a stranger in our midst who comes from an idea so far into the truth, they speak a different language and look upon the world truth does not know, and to understand that truth regards as senseless, and understands what truth regards as senseless. Stranger yet they do not recognize to whom they come, and yet maintain the home of one they belong to. Sorry, I'm going to start that again. So, stranger yet they do not recognize to whom they come, and yet maintain the home of the one they come to belong to them. And yet how easy it would be to say, this is my home, here I belong, and will not leave because a mad person says I must. Okay, so this is a really interesting way to practice. So when that, monkey mind gets into action, you could literally say, this is my home, this is where I belong, anchored in peace, anchored in love. And I will not leave because a mad person says I must. So I will not leave this peace by listening to the craziness of my monkey mind, of those 80,000 thoughts. What reason is there for not saying this? What could the reason be except that you had asked this stranger in to take your place and let you be a stranger to yourself? No one would let themselves be depossessed so needlessly unless they thought there was another home more suited to their tastes. Now, again, I don't know that it's quite as conscious as that, but now it's conscious. So in the past, it may not have been conscious, but now it is. So now you have a choice. Who is the stranger? Is it fear or you who are unsuited to the home which God provided for God's child, or love provided for love's child? Is fear God's own, created in God's likeness? Is it fear that love completes and is completed by? There is no home that can shelter love and fear. They cannot coexist. If you are real, then fear must be an illusion. And if fear is real, then you do not exist at all. And it's just a really good practice to continually check in. Am I anchored in fear or am I anchored in love? I used to use that a lot, actually, and I'd kind of forgotten about it. So revisiting these lessons is a really good reminder to always check in. Where am I anchored? How simply then the question is resolved. Whoever is afraid have denied themselves and said, I am a stranger here. And so I leave my home that God provided to one I no longer see as myself. Now the fearful stranger is exiled of necessity, not knowing who they are, uncertain of all things but this, that they are not themselves and that their home has been denied to them. So what do they search for now? What can they find? A stranger to themselves can find no home wherever they may look, for they have made return impossible. Their way is lost unless a miracle will search them out and show them that they are no stranger now. The miracle will come, for in their home their self remains. If asked, no stranger in, and took no alien thought to be itself, and it will call its own unto itself in recognition of what is its own. Okay, that all sounds a little bit complicated. So really, to put it in very simple terms, is the invitation is to deny the fear, to recognize that that's not who you really are. Don't entertain it, don't invite it in, but really be open to recognizing the love that you are, and that the love will then show up. The love will arise in you because you've now created space for it by denying the fear and recognizing that you are really love. And you just like literally saying to the Holy Spirit, I want to know who I am, or literally asking, who am I? Who is the stranger? Are they not the one yourself does not call? You have given this stranger your rightful place, yet it is yourself with capital S again, as certain of its own as God is of God's child. God cannot be confused about creation. God is sure of what belongs to God, and no stranger can be interposed between God's knowledge and the reality of God's child or love's child. God does not know of strangers, and God is certain of God's child. And we always have this image certainly I was given this image anyway, of a God that's looking down and watching on everything. But you've got to remember that love sees only love. It only recognizes us as love. There's nothing else that it sees. There's no watching of behaviors or judgment of behaviors. It's us that does that. It's the ego that does that. So source does not do that. Divine energy does not do that. It only recognizes love, which is what we really are. So nothing else is seen. So today we offer thanks for the innocent child of God who has come to search the world for what belongs to it. Its vision sees no strangers, but beholds its own and joyously unites with them. Many see God's child as a stranger, for they do not recognize themselves. So we see fear in others because we don't recognize who we really are. Yet, as they give God's child welcome, they remember. So as we say yes to this, we begin to remember and recognize the love in others. And it leads them gently home again where they belong. So it's like we've wandered off into this strange land. And now we're heading home again because we've recognized the other place is strange. We've like, this isn't where I belong. This seems really odd. And I want to go home. And so by recognizing how strange it is and being willing to look, then we begin our journey home. Not one does God's child forget. Not one does it fail to give you to remember that your home may be complete and perfect as it was established. So this is where we come back to, we've got to love everyone. We have got to forgive everyone. We can't leave anyone out. God's child has not forgotten you, yet you will not remember God's child until you look on all as it does. Who denies another is denying love or God's child, and thus refusing to accept the sight by which their self is clearly recognized, their home remembered, and salvation welcomed. So if you're having like major like stress with this and going, love everyone, forgive everyone, you know you're anchored in fear and anchored in the ego. If you're willing at all to entertain the idea that true freedom comes when you're willing to forgive everyone, when you're willing to recognize everyone as love, then you are really on that path to opening up to the love that you are and to knowing a life beyond your wildest dreams. So let's go into meditation for a few minutes with this. Just gently close our eyes down, drop in, open your hearts. And maybe we'll come back to the phrase or the mantra we used the other day. I am loving awareness. And this is such a beautiful way of affirming who we really are. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. I am at home. I am loving awareness. I am at home. When you're ready, gently opening your eyes, bringing your awareness back. And as a practice today, just really checking in where you are, where you've placed your attention, where your energy is. Are you feeling fearful or are you feeling in that trusting place? And no judgment. Judgment always keeps us stuck. Remember that. So just noticing and then choosing love. Have a great day.